My first guest is here. The great Russian pianist Den Manasuev said he has a phenomenal career ahead of him. Recital debut when he was 9, concerto at 12. At 16, George Harliono was performing with Valery Gergiev in the Mariinsky Orchestra in Russia. He's here with us tonight. Good evening, George.
Good evening, Sean.
He's there we are. He's seated at the keyboard, and a great pleasure it is to welcome him for his in-tune debut. You'll meet him later. He's playing Bach now. George, thank you very much indeed. George Harliono playing Bach, transcribed by Wilhelm Kempff from the Sonata for Flute and Keyboard. Great pleasure to have you with us, and he's coming back to play Chopin and Liszt for us later. Now, young George Harliono played Bach for us at the beginning of the programme. He's here. He made his debut at 9, full recital. I think concertos at 12. Valery Gergiev scooped him off to play with the Mariinsky at 16. He's now reached the advanced stage of 19, and he's got a concert, or a couple of concerts next week, once St George's, Hanover Square, with the London Firebird Orchestra. You're very welcome, George. Thank you. What was it like? I mean, that's obviously a seminal moment. Being spotted by somebody like Valery Gergiev, who's got a very sharp ear.
Yeah, it was a wonderful opportunity for a performer like me to play with one of the most renowned conductors in the world. And it was a really unique experience. So I was flown out to the Mariinsky Theatre in Russia, and then I think Valery Gergiev actually arrived, an hour before the concert.
That's quite early for him.
Yeah, I've heard that he arrives sometimes after the concert starts. But yeah, and then we rehearsed, half an hour. It was like a 35-minute concerto. And then he changed the order of the program round, so then I was playing first. So I had to run back to the hotel, get changed, run back to the concert hall, and then play. But
that sorts out the artists and people who can actually put up with anything.
Yeah.
But where did you get the passion? Where did this passion from? Because I know you had a recital at 9, but you only started taking lessons, I think, about 2 years before that, didn't you?
Well, it's the passion for music has always been there. I remember actually my first experience with the piano was when my parents bought us an old upright piano. I think it cost like £80 or something. It wasn't the best instrument, and my brother and I used to just mess around on it. We'd just play notes, make little tunes, as you do when you're a 6-year-old with a piano. And our parents, I think, in an attempt to make us sound better, decided to get us piano lessons. And I guess it worked. I worked through my piano lessons, and I picked them up very well. My brother also picked them up very well, but he eventually switched to violin, and he much prefers the violin actually. But I just carried on. Eventually, I gave my first piano recital at 9.
A 1 hour long piano recital.
Yeah, it was. It was a lot for a 9-year-old, and it was a big moment for me. In my career, as you might say. I really enjoyed it. If I hadn't enjoyed that first experience, I think that's really important that you do.
Absolutely. Well, you're still there, and you're still at the Royal College of Music. Another year to go there. So I'm sure they're keeping you balanced and making sure that you don't fly around the world just too frequently. But it's great to have you with us. You're going to play, I think, Chopin for us now, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm going to play.
Decided which one?
A Chopin Etude, Opus 10, number 1 in C major. It's a pretty difficult piece. Vladimir Horowitz actually refused to play it in public, because it's not a very safe thing to play public or live on the radio for that matter.
No, good. We like that, George.
Yeah,
that's
so
right.
it might go horribly wrong.
I'm sure it won't. Thank you. So, George Harliono live in the studio with that tricky Chopin. Wonderful. You didn't fall off at all. Thank you very much indeed, George Harliono, at the Waterfall prelude, but no falling. Etude in C Opus 10, number 1. You did that with a very sort of ease of lyricism, a very liquid lyricism, and you looked really as if you were enjoying it. I know that's maybe an obvious thing to say, but you didn't look remotely as tortured or worried about the virtuosity of it.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the trick, isn't it? I think as a pianist or as any musician, you're in a way like a magician or a comedian, in that you're leading the audience. You want them to show them this and you want to show them that, but you cannot get carried away. It's like a comedian doesn't laugh at his own jokes. He makes the audience laugh at the jokes. Or as a magician, you don't show them where the tricks are, but it's all about making it look easy, when in reality it's bloody difficult.
Yeah. Well, you've got to assimilate all that, of course, before you hit the platform. You're taking some lessons with Vladimir Ashkenazy, and I think his son. Is that right?
Yeah, well, it's I had a masterclass with Vladimir Ashkenazi, which was really something. He's a wonderful musician, and I think, well, I'm not going to say every pianist, but so many pianists look up to him as one of the greats of the 20th century. And yeah, I had also had some lessons with his son Vovka Ashkenazi, who was a wonderful teacher, and he's given me some great guidance. Yeah, and I think as a musician, your teachers are really important. They help shape who you are, and I mean, they influence you a lot.
What do you look for in someone like that when you've got the technical expertise, you've done all the hard work? What is it you look for that inspires you onto something else?
Well, see, technical perfection is only the first step to an interpretation, in my opinion, anyway. It's all about after you can play the notes, it's all about
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
shaping your musical ideas and putting them into an order that makes sense. And it's all about balance, and it's all about being true to yourself and being true to the music. And that's the job of the musician, and it's fun. And this music has been played for so many times. I mean, some of the stuff I play is hundreds of years old, and it's all about bringing something fresh and new to this music.
Yeah, you have to have your own imprint, and your soul has to be engaged as well. Well, you're at St George's Sandwich Square next Tuesday. Then you're at Pound Arts Centre in Corsham, 26th February, and you're going to Bournemouth, I think, as well on the 8th of March.
Yeah, Bournemouth on the 8th of March, and then after that, I'm going to be performing in Russia, in Zaryadye Concert Hall. Zaryadye Concert Hall. It's a Russian word. It's very difficult for me to pronounce, but that's a wonderful new concert hall in Moscow, and I'm playing Beethoven Piano Concerto Opus 61A, and then after that off to Buenos Aires.
You see, the world is the proverbial oyster. You will do well. We're going to hear Liszt and one of Liszt's transcriptions. He did such a lot of Verdi operas, I think Trovatore, Don Carlos, Aida, but this is from Rigoletto, and it's just really from the great Act 3 quartet.
It's such a fun scene. It's basically in this scene you've got a character called the Duke.
You've got the Duke, the naughty Duke, who's chatting at the barmaid, basically.
He's trying to seduce Maddalena, who's secretly plotting to kill him. So that relationship's not going to go very well. And then you've got Gilda, who is in love with the Duke, and she's watching, and she's a bit upset.
She is appalled, yes.
Yeah, and then Rigoletto, the father of Gilda, who's also quite appalled. But it's the way that Liszt has managed to capture the scene in this piano transcription is quite amazing.
Well, Verdi did a good job to start with, and Liszt does it with a great deal of love and respect. And it's now being played by George Harliono live in the studio. Bravo, George. Thank you very much indeed. Done with brio and style. The Rigoletto Paraphrase du Concert by Franz Liszt, played live for us in the studio by George Harliono. You may go to the ball, you may go and perform wherever you like after that. It's great. So it's St George's, Hanover Square, next Tuesday with the London Firebird Orchestra. Let's check them out. Conducted by Michael Thrift. I think you're doing Piano Concerto number 6, Beethoven's own transcription of the violin concerto. Is that right?
Yeah, it's a really interesting arrangement. It's
Wonderful. Well, thank you. And then I think also Pound Art Centre in Corsham on the 26th, and then in Bournemouth on the 8th, and then it's off to Russia. Thank you very much for making music for us. Brings the time to about 5 minutes to 6 o'clock. And over in an hour's time, there'll be that half-hour rivulet of strange delights that is the In Tune mixtape. I always like to give you a little clue